3 people have been taken to hospital with potentially life-threatening injuries after a house collapsed in South London. Emergency services were called to the street in Croydon shortly after 7 o'clock this morning. Simon Harris is there. Simon, there are fears that a child is still missing, still trapped.
Yes, Nina, worrying news has emerged in the last few hours that a 5-year-old girl may be trapped beneath the rubble in a house which was destroyed in an explosion early this morning. The blast at around 7 o'clock shattered windows in nearby homes and sent neighbours running into the street where they could hardly believe the devastation in front of them. We spoke to one of 2 men who, with no thought to their own safety, ran into the collapsed building where they found a mother and 3 children who they helped carry to safety. But it was too dangerous to try to search for a 4th child.
So he was in there searching. He gave me the little girl. So I parked the little girl out and we were looking for the last one, which was a little 5-year-old. But at one stage, we can hear the 5-year-old, but we couldn't see her. She was far below in the rubble. Yeah. Right now, I'm not too sure whether they got her.
We believe the 3 people in hospital are the girls' 2 brothers and sister, aged between 2 and 7, whereas you say they are said to have life-threatening injuries. Exactly what caused the explosion is still unclear at the moment, but people living in the streets say there has been a problem with a gas leak for at least a week, possibly 10 days, that there has been a persistent smell of gas in the street, and there were workmen in Galpins Road yesterday afternoon. But so far, no confirmation from the authorities about what might have caused it. At the moment, people living in adjoining houses are being put up in a refuse centre while it's safe, before it's safe enough for them to return home.
Good evening. People living on Galpin Road in Thornton Heath say they have been complaining of a smell of gas for days, but this morning their worst fears were confirmed. A huge explosion in the middle of the street demolished a terraced house, almost pulling down the houses either side of it too. After desperate searches by the London Fire Brigade, the body of a little girl was found in the rubble this afternoon. 3 other children are in hospital. Tonight, around 40 properties have been evacuated and a police investigation has begun. Our correspondent Simon Harris has the latest.
In a row of terraced houses, suddenly and without warning, one of them exploded.
I just woke up and heard this loud bang and everyone panicking and everyone screaming.
The blast in Galpins Road in Thornton Heath destroyed one house and badly damaged next door. A mum and her 4 children were inside one of them. Kukunda and Delroy, with no thought for their own safety, ran into the collapsed building.
We did as much as we can until the fire brigade came and they told us it's dangerous, you got to move away. But we knew it was dangerous to begin with anyway.
I go inside the house and I go and meet one woman inside was shaking with the 3 children inside the bed. The top of half of the house already fall down.
At one stage, we can hear the 5-year-old, but we couldn't see her. She was far below in the rubble.
The emergency services arrived within minutes. The 2 boys and a girl were taken to hospital where doctors said they had life-threatening injuries, but their sister was still missing. For several hours, fire crews carefully searched the rubble, a potentially risky operation which could have triggered a further collapse. And at the back of everyone's mind was the fear of another explosion. The girl's grandmother waited anxiously with other family members at the end of the street, but this afternoon the fire service confirmed everyone's worst fears.
Firefighters carried out a substantial search of the property. Sadly, a child was pronounced dead at the scene. Our thoughts are with their family, friends and the local community at this time.
Neighbouring houses in Galpins Road were evacuated, and for some time people living here had to wait in the open air, trying to find whatever shade they could.
They haven't told people with any disabilities or any kind of health issues what to do or to kind of escort us to somewhere safe.
They also shared their stories of a recurring gas leak.
You could smell the gas for over a week, though, as you walk down the road. And even so, yesterday I said to the guys, open the windows because I want the gas to settle in the house, front and back, and let it blow through.
You smell it really strong, yeah. And apparently people reported it yesterday. Was told we'll send someone out today at 11 o'clock.
In a statement, the gas company SGN said, "We'd like to reassure everyone that our engineers are working closely with the emergency services to establish the cause of the explosion. Given the ongoing police investigation, it is inappropriate to comment any further at this stage." But the leader of Merton Council seemed to confirm gas was to blame.
We're all devastated by today's news about the tragic death of a child as a result of the gas explosion at Galpins Road.
The investigation into how a little girl died in her own home is now in the hands of the police. Simon Harris, ITV News, Thornton Heath.
Next tonight, Thames Water, which serves 15 million people in and around the city, says it will introduce a hosepipe ban in the coming weeks. It comes as we head into yet another heat wave. Also struggling with the dry, hot weather, London's firefighters. They say there are 1,000 fewer firefighters in the capital than a decade ago, and they're feeling the effects. Our correspondent Simon Harris has more.
Londoners have once again been made homeless by the heat wave. In Crayford, a row of 4 houses went up in flames when a grass fire spread to their back gardens. 60 firefighters did their best to bring the blaze under control.
The bushes was on fire, the fence was really inflamed, and it started going to the big tree over the back there. And then I come away, and next minute I know that the whole house was caught on fire.
It's thought one of the houses belonged to a family away on holiday. No one was hurt, but these properties face almost certain demolition. This latest heatwave is set to get even hotter. The Met Office and UK Health Security Agency have issued an amber warning, telling people in London and the home counties to expect extreme heat from Thursday until Sunday. In London's parks, the grass is the most obvious casualty of the drought. Green patches are few and far between. And with no rain forecast anytime soon, Thames Water said a hosepipe ban was now inevitable.
If we do have a ban, I will then just accept it and I will then save the water in a bucket in the shower.
I filled my paddling pool up before the ban, so I'm happy that the pool is warm, filled, half filled, keep the children occupied, but my flowers are all dead now.
The hosepipe is helpful, but it's not a disaster if I have to fill watering cans up.
3 weeks ago, the village of Wennington was one of the communities on the front line. For the London Fire Brigade, it was the busiest day since the war. But the Firefighters Union claims cuts to the service made things even worse.
They started that busiest day with nearly 40 less fire engines than they should have had, with nearly 40 fire engines unavailable because they simply don't have the number of firefighters required to put on them. Fire engines can't put out fires on their own. They need to be crewed by properly trained, properly staffed firefighters.
The union claims there are 1,000 fewer firefighters in London than a decade ago. But the government says the nature of firefighting has changed.
But what we found is that the fire service over the last few years has changed in the kind of events that it responds to. Fewer deaths by fires, but other things that the fire service needs to come out to. But we'll always adapt and make sure we're learning the lessons.
As temperatures soar this week, the fire service will be bracing itself for the likelihood of yet more wildfires. Simon Harris, ITV News, Crayford.
Good evening and welcome to viewers in London and the Meridian area. As the long hot summer continues, another young life has been lost while cooling off in water. A man died after going missing at a lake in Hounslow at tea time yesterday. That was 24 hours after a 14-year-old boy was found dead in a lake in Cheshunt. There are warnings tonight. Online videos of people jumping into open water could be fueling the problem. And of course, it's only going to get hotter as we now head into days of what the Met Office calls extreme heat. Our correspondent Simon Harris has more.
On baking hot days, it's a popular beauty spot. But while the cool waters of the Bedfont Lakes Country Park in West London might look inviting, unauthorised swimming here is banned. There are emergency lifebuoys, but no lifeguards. Yesterday, a 22-year-old man disappeared after taking a dip. Police spent more than 6 hours searching for the missing swimmer. A helicopter was called in to join divers and officers in small boats. Shortly after midnight, the man's body was pulled from the water.
I would really urge the public not to swim in open water like this. We run supervised sessions with lifeguards so that if there is any difficulty, there is some support there. But unsupervised, we just don't know what is happening underwater, the temperature of the water.
Today's tragedy is the 5th drowning in London and the home counties this summer. On July the 4th, 17-year-old Nikolai Topa drowned after going for a swim at Fairlock Waters in Redbridge. On the 21st, 14-year-old Brian Sassu went into the Thames at Tags Island in Richmond to cool off. On Saturday, 11-year-old Kira Hill drowned during a birthday party at Liquid Leisure, a water park in Windsor. And yesterday, the body of a missing 14-year-old was found after he disappeared below the water at a lake at Cheshunt in Hertfordshire.
It's really important people understand it's dangerous. It's dangerous because you can have what's called cold water shock. It's dangerous because of the currents that can pull you under, but also it's dangerous because often the water is far deeper than you thought, even though because you're a good swimmer, you may think it's okay.
High tide on the Thames, and the Port of London Authority is looking for anyone who might be putting themselves at risk. Especially worrying are copycats inspired by challenges on social media.
There's been a high number of people jumping off of bridges and entering the river not knowing that the tide does rise and fall up to 7 metres at a time, and the amount of passenger boats and recreational users on the river, they're going to put themselves in danger.
On popular stretches of water like this near Richmond, the launches are out every day. They check paddleboarders are wearing life jackets and warn any swimmers of the dangers. With more hot days ahead, the river authorities are under no illusions about the deadly lure of open water in a heat wave. Simon Harris, ITV News, Richmond.
Good evening. As we enter another spell of extreme heat, London Fire Brigade is warning there is an exceptional risk of wildfires because it's just so dry out there. They've already fought more than 300 in the first week of August alone, an 8-fold increase. The danger from this long, hot, dry summer extends to wildlife as water levels fall and to the vulnerable at risk of heat stroke and dehydration. And as Simon Harris now reports, as temperatures rise, tempers are beginning to flare.
We can't flush the toilet and we can't wash anything up. Till we get more, this is the water we've got left. It takes three of them to flush a toilet.
Chris Oxley is at the end of his tether with good reason. He, his partner Sarah and baby daughter have been without water at their High Wycombe home for 3 days thanks to a leak.
It's been really quite tough. I think the fact that it's a heat wave makes it difficult. If we didn't have the baby, it would be a lot easier to cope. But with her, you know, when you look at, you've got 12 bottles of mineral water to flush your toilets, to wash the baby, to wash all her bottles.
Mr Oxley's patience finally snapped after repeatedly being fobbed off by a call centre. When Thames Water sent more bottled water, he blocked the van in with the couple's cars.
The reality is, we have called them 10 times now between us and our neighbours. They have told us it's fixed. They have told us that fixes 10, 15 miles away have solved the problem. People don't call back, people don't give information, and every day we wake up with no water.
The whole reason that I blocked a car in, that we've gone through this, is the numerous calls to call centres that keep telling us the problem is fixed or under repair when there's nobody on the road.
Thames Water declined to talk about the couple's protest. As temperatures rose today and the authorities declared an amber warning, meaning extreme heat, firefighters revealed how much pressure they're under. In the first week of August, London Fire Brigade was called out 340 times to grass, rubbish and open fires. That's an 800% increase compared to the same week in 2020. LFB also took more than 18,000 routine calls between July the 18th and August the 7th.
It is a considerable strain for the emergency services, and that's why this time we're pre-planning, we're making sure we've got more resources and more resources in the right place to deal with it.
The heat wave and lack of rain is also taking a toll on the natural environment. This should be the River Mole near Dorking in Surrey, but the river has dried up, and today the Environment Agency was forced to carry out a fish rescue operation. In still water like pools and ponds, aeration pumps can be used to add oxygen to the water. But conditions on the River Mole have reached a critical point.
As the levels drop further, the fish will start to lose the water they need to survive. So what we have to do in extreme circumstances is rescue these fish and take them out and move them to somewhere where the water will stay longer or it's cooler or more suitable for them.
Using nets, the teams collect as many fish as possible. From the nets, they go into buckets, and then, like this lucky pike, they're put into tanks on the back of a pickup, a makeshift fish ambulance, before being moved to deeper water upstream. Simon Harris, ITV News on the River Mole.